Hey, welcome to From the Baseline with Premier Basketball. Thanks for tuning in and joining us today. I'm joined by Shane Laflin and Jason Key. We appreciate you tuning in. We're going to talk about Prime Event East this past weekend. We were up in Spooky Nook and the metropolis of Mannheim, Pennsylvania. And so I had a great time this weekend, even made Bill Franny's day. Saw the Amish carriage. Which was fantastic. But so we got a lot to talk about from this past weekend. But before we get started, if you haven't subscribed, hit that red button below and subscribe. We'd love for you to leave a comment on the show and thoughts on the event and just be part of the community here with us from the Baseline. And so if you haven't subscribed, just hit that red button and you'll be notified when we have our next episode. So, but let's get back to the topic at hand. Prime Event East. Overall thoughts from the weekend. Shane, once you get us started, what do you think of the weekend?
Man, it was nonstop from the first tip, and it was a lot of fun. Like, the days felt really long in terms of like you thought it was 4 o'clock, and you're like, you feel like you've watched so much, you swore it was 8 o'clock. And then there was just a lot. I mean, Matt did a great job in structuring the brackets. Obviously, the teams that came, as we talked about on the preview show, we knew it was going to be good, and I would say it exceeded expectations. Down to the young ones, just again, like Jason always talks about, loving to hoop. And right now, the younger ones don't play on those main 10 courts. They don't care in terms of how they play. It was fun to go kind of anonymously stick our heads back there and just go watch them play a little bit, and then see a few courts at once and just kind of watch them. So I always appreciate that. But as far as the players, the competitiveness, the brackets, it meant something to them. There's certain events you can just tell, and this was one of the ones. And so thus far, it's hard to top anything that I've been to so far from that standpoint.
Absolutely. One of the things we talk about, Jason, a lot is matchups matter. And this was a weekend where we saw a lot of good matchups. But we'll talk about the matchups that happened this weekend.
Man, across the board, there was a ton of them. First of all, speaking to Shane's point of the importance of it, we had numerous USA trial kids show up off airplanes and play. So, probably 5 or so. Right. I would say off the top of my head, guessing. So quite a few there, and that just shows you that this meant something to all. And we had one that would have played, Mary Addison Group, but she turned her ankle at USA. So, the one that sticks out just game-wise or all that would be NEPA, Northeast Pennsylvania Elite, and Fairfax, when you had Toomey and Kiki Rice late on Saturday night. Shane was starving, and the game just took over. There was no leaving that front apple. Wasn't happening. So he was thinking about, could I go to the snack bar and get
I didn't
or whatever, but he didn't want to miss. So he just thought it was frozen. And both of the stars showed up. Yep. Neither one to lose, and it was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And so I thought that was a game that sticks out. Obviously, the Jaden Donovan finish with 0.8 seconds.
0.9.
There you go. 0.9 seconds with the baseline play. So tip at the buzzer, and on it went. It was back and forth all weekend. So there was a ton of good teams, and I think the brackets show that, right? Every shoe made a quarterfinal, including and then independent. So you had a mixture of everything. You had a couple of Under Armours, a couple of EYBLs, a couple of Adidas, and an independent, all in the quarterfinals. So mix of talent was everywhere, and it was exactly what we envisioned. So great job again, just following up by Matt Shockett and the selective bench crew all weekend. Spectacular job.
Absolutely.
The content guys were really good too. The capturing of different stuff. They captured the vibe. They captured obviously some highlights. They captured some really outstanding performances, and their turnaround on that stuff is great. So John DeVekis and Ian Finnan and the crew that they use through our 3-step office and then through Select was amazing. It was just so good. And then the other thing I didn't mention earlier, also, Jason, to your point, with the USA young kids coming in and playing, which was really cool. Some of them started right away that came early, or that maybe got cut the first time. And then the ones that made the team, a few of them waited till Sunday to play. So that was kind of cool. They got some rest and then were able to compete. The other thing is we had 6 McDonald's All-American voters there. So that was, it meant something to people. It was cool to catch up with them and then always, have the camaraderie before and after the event and things of that nature.
Right. Well, and speaking of depth, when you talked about poking into the back room of Spooky Nook there, where, they just have, I think 20 courts or something like that back there.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to watch those young kids. I mean, I went back there and watched the 2025 division semifinals with New Heights and versus the Comets, and then you had Kalo versus TTG Renegades, I believe, and they were just competing, and you got to see some young kids play, and but even that, with all the 24s and 23s and 22s, and we've all hit it, just the quality of independence, the quality of the shoe brands, and nobody ducked anybody.
Couldn't.
No, you couldn't. And that's what the Prime event is built on, is we're competing. We're in the gym, we're competing, matchups matter, the depths matter. We all make each other better. And, everybody that I talked to walking away from the event was very appreciative of that and how that's going to prepare them for July. And everybody walked away with good things from the weekend, things to work on, things that's going to make them better. Everybody had a game that they can go back and watch game film that challenge them in different ways, in different styles of play. And so, shout out to all the teams who came. Shout out to all the teams who bought in with the Prime event, especially up there in the East from this weekend, and who showed up and competed and played at a high level. And then really made the event what it is. I mean, the camaraderie, the appreciation, the acknowledgement and respect for each other throughout the weekend was greatly noted and appreciated, and really the game grew in the Northeast this weekend because of the event.
Yeah, I like, we sit there and we kind of, you try to keep a low profile and just pick up your chair and go sit in the corner and watch. I like when I hear the other players talking about the game that they're watching of somebody else. They talk about the players. They talk about, I remember I was sitting at a game and the next team was coming and there was a particular end of game situation and I was thinking it, and I think Jason was sitting there, so God knows I probably said it, but I was surprised the team didn't have one of their players in for a particular situation. And it was, it was cool to hear somebody be so engaged as a player who's playing next in a big game, a quarterfinal game, in fact, sit there and look to her teammate and say, man, so-and-so should have been in right there because of this, that, and other. And it was kind of cool to hear. And then just them being complimentary of each other. The support of the game is pretty cool. And that these players, they compete with each other, but they like to go see the other players play to support, but to measure up too. Like I talked to some players this weekend, and they told me, and if she listens, she knows who it is. They told me where they plan to be, in the next year. They told me where they plan to be and what they plan to do. And I just, and not in an arrogant way, say, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm doing it, and had a conversation. I like it. I like the edgy ones. So it was a lot of pretty cool stuff this weekend. And like you said, Mark, that's what the Prime event's about. And you have an independent team and NEPA Elite get through to the final. It's kind of the narrative of the Prime event, is just like, it's about your team and how you execute. And on that team, they have a few Division I kids. They got a blue blood. They got a blue chipper and Sierra Toomey. They got a really good point guard.
Mariah Murray.
Mariah Murray going to Drexel.
Mariah Murray going to Drexel.
Yeah.
Shot after shot.
She performed all weekend. They have another long forward who's probably going to play Division I level, and then a couple others. that are going to be competitive. And, you know, close game in the first round, close game in the second round. They had to earn it. This was a gauntlet of a bracket that they had to earn to get through everybody. You know, like you said, Jay, in the semifinal, we're going Mass Rivals team takeover to the buzzer. I mean, that thing was never, I mean, I watched one more than the other, but as I was checking that score and coming over to watch that game, I don't remember it ever being, you know, outside of a 3-point lead. I mean, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but like it was close the whole time. And I mean, the crowds on those two courts at that time, because they were good games, and then a couple, you know, crowd erupting type of plays. And then, of course, the execution of takeover, I'm pretty sure without calling the timeout there.
It was without a timeout. Yeah. They had their work game situation on that. There's no doubt.
Absolutely. That's a play that, you know, they obviously had practiced, you know, numerous times, because they went right into it. There was discussion on who tipped the ball out, and kind of with the Mass Rivals and the officials, and they were team takeover was already in it, so there was no timeout. Nobody got to set up. It was the ball was handed off, and you even see Gia Cook looks them off and then tosses it. So I mean, that's what practice is about.
And that goes to y'all's point too. That goes all the way back to the second round. Again, we already talked about Napa and Fairfax, and then you had GTS Fusion,
Exodus
in the second round. And so from then on, like all the way back to the second round, where you're talking 16 teams left. Like there's multiple teams that could have made a run, and it broke the way it breaks, you know, in the game situations, who wins out and that kind of thing. So it was survive and advance for real.
Yeah, and that's what the bracket forces you to do is, you know, talent is one thing. What you've done before this is another. Who can hold together to win it. And it's just like the final. Like it looked early on like Takeover and their depth was gonna just put away Nepo Elite, and they just stuck with it and actually took the lead. So I think they were down 17 or 18 at one point. Took a 1-point lead. Now then Takeover, you know, swung back, boom, boom, got up 3, but actually battled back. So like, you know, it's just it's applicable lessons for the next level, whether it's over a season to learn to get better, that things can change, winning because of your game planning, not just because of your talent. And I think the way the game is shown to young kids through social media and things, a lot of people, I think the young ones think a game is over because a team has talent or a team has done something before, or a particular player did something 6 months ago. So it's my team versus your team. And then this is where the winning matters. We're not like, when we say winning matters, no kidding. It's just like I say, it's not a novel concept to get the best teams together to play against each other. Winning matters in terms of, if you want to game plan and try to win, you believe your team plays their way, your opponent plays their way, and you're going to beat your team your way. You know, your adjustments and things. That's the winning matters stuff, you know? And then now we're going to get into the execution. And that's why I keep saying the execution continues of the Prime event, because we use it as a talking point, you know? And I think a lot of people learned a lot. You don't think Mass Rivals learns from that played a lot? I mean, a couple things. Do you strategically put somebody on the ball because they didn't? And then do you realize with 0.9 seconds defensively, all you got to do is tip the ball.
Right.
Like you don't have to catch it. You're not trying to do anything. It's tied. You're not trying to do anything but get a hand on the ball. So do you put, this is Jason's thing. Do you put somebody on the ball?
Of course you do.
And then if you're defensive minded, and you know, Mark, we all played a lot, coached a lot. Like they're lined up in 2 in the corner and 2 stacked.
And stacked.
There's
what do you think?
Not a whole lot of stuff that's run. You know what I mean? So like in college and in pros, they know what's coming, right? So again, not knocking Mass Rivals. It's a learning opportunity that you don't get unless you play in that environment, because it doesn't stick the same, right? And so that's good for them, just like it was good for Takeover to win. It was good for Takeover to prove to themselves that their preparation mattered for winning. And it was good for Mass Rivals to go back and go, I would do this differently. I'll recognize this as a player, because that's what high level players do.
Yep.
They recognize it because they've all, like, nobody just goes through without getting a couple scars. You just don't.
Well, and the process of how you got to that. I mean, Mass Rivals at that point, I think they were up by 8-10, and then team takeover made a run. The intensity picked up, turnover, missed free throws, and how you got to that. And there's just so many lessons that you can't learn those unless you're in those matchups. You can't learn those unless you're playing meaningful games. And the game does not grow unless you have those lessons to learn. And sometimes it's being on the end of the win, and sometimes it's being on the end of the loss. You heard multiple coaches talk about, like, hey, we really need to lose a game because your attention to detail, your execution, all that stuff is not brought back into focus unless there's a loss. And so that's the value of losing. And some people are like, oh, you got to be perfect. Sometimes it's worth losing to focus and bring that attention back to the details. Another group that we need to really shout out to is, we had quite a few college coaches in the building too, all D2, D3, NAIA, NCCAA. And so shout out to all them coming through, and we appreciate you joining in on the event. And we know you found value. We appreciate your support of the event and getting to see the kids play. So, hey, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk players. We're going to talk some of the players that stood out. So stay with us after this. Hey, welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in to From the Baseline with Premier Basketball. Let's get into players. We talked about the great weekend, talked about some of the matchups, some of the games, but outstanding players from the weekend. And we mentioned her earlier, Sierra, to me, her outstanding weekend, but how was it at a different level this weekend, Jason?
Holy shit. So first of all, Shane had seen her on film already, been tipped off, and then we all got sorted, and we all took certain kids from the high school season, did some evals. And I was like, holy shnikes, right? But I hadn't seen it live. It's one thing to see Pennsylvania high school, all over Pennsylvania high school, and her doing it. And I was like, man, if this translates against elite athleticism when she's playing them, watch out, right? And boy, did it. Holy shnikes. So she was because she's new, we knew a lot of the other players of her age, of the older age group, and seeing them. There's always that force of the new kid, hard to take your eyes off of. So you had that, and then like she wouldn't miss a shot. I swear she shot over 75% in the mob viewings. Like from everywhere. You had a 3-ball, you had a mid range, you had a post up, and I was, oh my goodness. So obviously, I mean, she was really fun to watch. Beyond bright future, skyrocketing prospect, and can't wait to. You should hear the conversations I'm having with college coaches about it. I mean,
that's been the one coming off that they were just like, all right, you've seen her live. Do you feel the same way? And I'm like, no, I don't. I think she's better than I thought, because I now know on film what really stood out to me, besides the fact that she just has a crisp stroke at 6'4", was that she never was uncomfortable on the floor anyway. Like, teams speed her up, they double. She's not. I know what I'm supposed to do here. I know what to do to counter your defense. I know what to do to counter your offense. The timing of block shots. Look, the high school film. Yeah, she's not playing All-American athletes, right? So I'm like, okay, she's the biggest one. She times the shots well, but it's kind of hard not to, because you're better. The timing of her block shots. There was a particular play this weekend. She was the transition one back, and there was a guard going to the rim, and the guard up faked, and a lot of shot blockers would leave their feet. She stayed because she knew she had the height advantage. Okay, it was GTS Fusion. The guard tried to get her up, so she was smart enough to stay down. The guard dropped it back off to Delaney Thomas, and she was able to get back and challenge Thomas's shot, okay, 2-on-1 with the fill-ins, right? So it ended up 3-2, 4-3, 5-5, whatever. Which then allowed them to get the rebound in a critical point. And had she left her feet, they'd have gotten a bucket. And it was just, so the timing of that, a lot of, Bill Russell and those guys, the shot blockers that were the first original ones, like your feet don't leave the floor till their feet leave the floor, and you use your length to go get it up high. And a lot of people want to block it like in their shoulder, and it's massively inefficient, because you up your chance of fouling, but B, like you bite, and she just didn't bite. I just thought it was an amazing thing after she had volleyball blocked a few shots with perfect timing. Her fork, the turnaround jumper, she has a nice little step back in the paint that's virtually impossible to guard.
Yep.
She got the knee up like she dirked somebody, and then the corner three, the trail three, the dimes. Listen, stop it.
Yeah.
Forget about it. Sign the check.
And then last point on her, the word is she may be a scratch golfer. And let me say,
high academic as well.
Yeah, if that's true, it's simply unfair.
She catches everything. She has incredible hand-eye coordination. There's
no doubt about it. And so it wouldn't be shocking at all because her hand-eye coordination is off the charts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, another player we've seen quite a bit play, but really seemed to take her game to the next level this weekend was Kiki Rice. Shane, kind of give us an idea of how her game was raced this weekend.
I mean, she is just walks on the floor with this business-like look on her face and just takes it to you the whole time. And she just keeps adding ways to create space, and the jumpers just consistently getting better. She's one of the best, if not the best, open court player in her class in the country, just because her size and her speed and her ability to elevate and finish and change pace. She's doing a great job changing pace. And I'm trying to think of a time where I saw her expression change. She's just like, I'm in between the lines. This is business, and I'm trying to beat you. And I mean, she was massively efficient. I mean, we were guesstimating, one game in the 30s, the NEPA Elite, she might have had 40. Just didn't. Speaking of, people not missing shots, she didn't miss a lot. And I mean, she doesn't seem to get tired. So, you're talking an elite athlete and an elite player. It's not a bad combination. And then, high academic, for all things that you can tell, just carries herself in a very mature manner. I mean, these things bode well for the next level and beyond as far as projection.
To Shane's point on the lungs, she was is, I don't know if she's still playing at all, but high level elite soccer player as well. And there's a regalness to her, right? My personal nickname for her has become Condoleezza, because she reminds me of kind of like she comes on the floor and there's just like she's on a different level than these kids. The way she composes herself and presents herself, that kind of thing. A point guard is point guard, right. And so she is as good as it gets, no doubt about it.
We talked about those two players. How about give us a couple, maybe two or three additional players who just stuck out to you this weekend, one way or another? And who you got, Jay?
Justine Passat, who I consider the best shooter in the country. I actually had a conversation with somebody. I said, we were talking shooting contest. I said, I have her, you have the rest of the country. Hopefully one of them can beat me. She shoots it volleyball line plus, and it is, Shane talks about crisp. I mean, it is bottom of the net. She doesn't hit rim most of the time. She doesn't hit the top of the net. That thing's bottom of the net money from all over. So Tennessee got a real one. I mean, she is going to make everybody's life so much easier, because if you don't stay attached, go ahead and put three up top.
Yeah, and when you do close out, she's a good decision maker. She had a couple fast break decisions this week that I thought were very advanced, just in the way she set up her teammate, the way she set up the defender. And she, if you can shoot it like that and pass it like that and put it on the deck fundamentally, like with her size, I mean, she could play for me any day, anywhere.
list.
Absolutely.
Delaney Thomas
Mm.
was really good this weekend. Like the big fundamental. She's really good. I mean, I know the cross comparison, whatever, but she just reminds me of Tim Duncan. Like she does everything right. She has a smile on her face. Coming off a great week at USA Trials, made the team, which is amazing, and then played, right? So that's one of the ones you were talking about. Rebounds, makes free throws, great teammate, just steady, just really good. I really like her. Great.
Yeah, and I think an
forward.
interesting point with we see it all the time, right? Year in, year out, is you can see the boost of confidence that USA basketball gives certain kids.
Absolutely.
And I thought that was a little bit of the case with her. She, you could tell she was rounding into form when I saw her a month ago and all that. And you could see what she was doing, it seemed like, was prepping herself towards USA Trials. And then we saw her post USA Trials where you get the pressure off of you, but you've been through it. And it's just like, man, I can do this. And it had that feel to me watching her.
There's a realness to it. There's a realness and an appreciation that builds confidence versus like false confidence or arrogance or the way some of them carry themselves afterwards.
Yeah.
In this case, you can tell this is somebody who cares about it and it meant something to her, which I'm not saying it doesn't mean something to everybody, but the maturity approach, I think really bodes well for her going into the future. Just again, the next levels are so demanding that you've got to be, you can't be the knucklehead, and it's like we were talking with these other guys, they carry themselves in a very mature manner while they compete. And they're pretty good.
Absolutely.
Next up for me would be Jaden Donovan. There was great athletes in the gym all over, and then there was Jaden Donovan. Right? I mean, she's a different type of athlete. So you can see the light bulb really coming off too, as far as basketball skill, IQ of the game. You can just see the light bulb getting brighter and brighter each time we see her. But an undeniable athlete, like different type of athlete than anybody else in the gym that I saw. So, always with that athleticism piece, that ceiling's off the chain. If it all comes together, if and when and all that. But she has gotten better and better and better every time I've seen her.
You see athletes like that sometimes try to do things and force the issue and things that they can't quite do yet. And you don't see that in her. She knows what her strengths are and she plays to her strengths. She's getting to a pull-up. That is a pull-up. Like the elevation is unreal. She makes plays defensively that are that a lot of people just can't make. She's a terror on the glass, and obviously made some big plays and led Takeover to a championship. So in that MVP discussion and that those kinds of things. She was really good. I mean, playing for Takeover, you're going to guard, you're going to play hard, and you're going to be tough. Like that's a staple of Takeover. And Ron's done a fantastic job, top of the program down, of making sure like you understand that's a non-negotiable. And we'll talk about a couple of the other ones later, but they all I would say the same thing about all of them. So, Mark, what you got?
One that I saw in Birmingham, but was glad to see again and really want to see her play top was Michaela Blake's 2024 with Team Rio.
Nice.
And you saw the growth of her game since April to now. But her be able to carry the load, scoring and point guard load there for Team Rio, and just her get to play at top level talent, and you could see her game grow, and the jumpers improving, the pull up, decision making's improving, and so that for me was one that I was going in looking to see just what her development looked like, and I mean really really promising 2024 there.
Yeah, and ultra competitive, right? I mean that's one thing I like is she was in a couple of difficult situations as far as what she was having to do against the team she was having to do it against in a couple of those games, and I didn't blink.
No.
Made a lot of plays defensively. There's something about her. They're not exactly alike, but I kept comparing her to Lauren Hurd here at TCU for some reason. And it's just there's a piece of her game, the aura of her that reminds me of her. And no, she's absolutely really good. And I would forget a couple of times that she's a 24. I had it.
Yeah.
I would look at my book and like, man, she's young, and so that was impressive to do it at that level.
Absolutely. And then another one for me was 2026 Jordan Jackson with the Elevator Leap. And I had heard her name, Bruno sent me tons of stuff on her, but that was the first time I saw her live. And I mean, she's playing 16U, but geez Louise. I don't think I saw a game where she wasn't the best kid on the floor, period. Got the size, got the athleticism, got the length. I mean, just really a phenomenal prospect there in the 26 class.
Yeah, and I saw her a month ago in Philly and had the same impression you had. I hyped her a little bit going into you, that kind of thing. And so I didn't see her this weekend, but I mean, that's also good to know that she's doing it tournament in and tournament out.
Absolutely.
At her level. So awesome.
Absolutely.
Shane?
Just want to go a few quick hitters. Like don't sleep on Cadence Samuels.
Mm-hmm.
Continual development. I've watched it over time. She plays nothing but high level schedules because she's at McNamara and then obviously with Takeover. We're talking a 6'1", 6'2", like forward, but is turning herself into a good wing and is good on the glass. Obviously, like I said, with Takeover earlier, they're going to play defense. They're going to play hard, understand toughness. The stroke is looking really nice. And just look, everybody runs their own race. And there's just something about, again, the way she's carrying herself. These are separators for me sometimes. It's like, I think it's not real hard to identify talent, but sometimes you have to have a reason why you choose who you choose, whether you're recruiting or building a team or choosing All-Americans or choosing 100, whatever. You have to have a reason why you think they're going to be successful. And just, I think it's no secret, and stuff that I'm looking at. You want to see that maturity. You want to see that constant growth. And I just don't sleep on that one. I thought Grace Sunback, we watched the 8 a.m. game, New Heights, Exodus, Sunday morning, and it was not your typical 8 a.m. game. I got there early just to see intentionally the body language of the players, and I had no issues on either end. They were ready to go. And Grace Sunback had like at least 13 in the second half, maybe 15. She had an 8-0 run by herself. She can shoot it. Crafty player. She's got some names on there, Angelica Velez and Leah Del Rosario with her group in that same class. Just a steady, like, these players fit roles, and role is not a bad word. They help you win. And just so, like, I appreciate the skill. I thought Gia Cook had an incredible weekend.
She made a lot of big shots.
Late in that championship game, she made some big shots. If you watched, and if I'd even go watch it just to watch it again on film. Her defensive intensity late after running through that bracket, and let's be like, look, we don't love it, but it was due to the talent and due to the time constraints. If you played in the championship game, you played in 3 games on Sunday.
Yep.
If you watched the championship game, you didn't know that she played, first of all weekend.
Yeah, 4 games in 2 days already.
2 games already previous that day. When Nepa took the lead, she went to another level of intensity, and she was already like arguably the most intense player on the floor. And I was just like, she would eat the basketball right now if you let her. Like, she was like, the ball pressure, because they were switching and Nepa was going DHO and they were switching. So she was on the ball a bunch. And I'm just like, she's not getting tired. Like, I was just watching this couple possessions. It was impressive. And then to be able to do that and then knock down a couple meaningful pull-ups late was impressive to me. And so, again, the point guards, that intensity, that competitiveness is valuable. You continue to watch it. She's going to be a really good get. I was really impressed by that. We had some young ones. Kiyomi McMillan is no secret, got that ball on a string. Tatum Green, Kennedy Ume, they won their bracket with the Rise group in the 2024 bracket. Kendall Dudley coming off USA. So they were down in their first round game. She gets there, and they make up 10 points, real quick. And
Mhm.
they weren't able to dig out of the hole to no fault of anybody's. It's you get there when you get there. But like, again, just wanted to hoop and wanted to compete, so, I'm sure you guys have a couple more. I want to make sure, there's a couple other quick
Yeah.
hitters, like I just want to mention a few of those. Obviously there's a long list. I don't want to leave anybody
Yeah.
out, like to, that kind of thing.
My version of Caden Samuels would be Sonia Jaw, right? Same team with in different year. Jaw comes out and hits 3 threes in the first half of the championship, and I think that was for us a little bit.
Yeah,
And I like that.
celebration.
She made
She
sure
had a little
she
celebration.
took a little look over to the sideline. She's heard the
That's
rumblings, and so just letting you know it's in the bag. So I love that. I got to give Joey some love. Kylie Marshall, in a very tough situation with the Philly Rise. They're playing up, and this is what Joey wanted. He's really pushing his team. Kylie's a little personal favorite of mine, and so but she came out cooking, right? And I'm always pushing Kylie in the background, telling her where she's got to get better and that kind of thing, trying to help the kid. But she had at least 10, maybe 15 in that first half against Philly Rise. And Kevin Lynch, shout out Kevin. Philly Rise came and asked me, "Hey, who's 22? Like, what is that?" And so we talked about her a little bit, and just she looked. There's a lot of potential there. So that's a couple that really jumped out. Shay Zeki, of course, over at Exodus, was really impressed in moments with her, as I get to really know her and watch her after a month ago, and I'm gonna see her again in July a couple of times. Really get a good feel for it. Really skilled with the ball. I mean, really skilled. So leading scorer, rebounder type. Karis Baker, also Exodus. I really like. Like she's really coming along. She loves to spot up the 3. She's playing a little bit out of position, playing the 5 when she's probably a 4, right? And making do with it and having to deal with the physical aspect. And I think her having to go through this is going to serve her really well moving forward.
And make her a more rugged, tough forward, add her some versatility, because just, they space it, make it work. Speaking, we talked about learning experience. Exodus had a learning experience this week.
No doubt.
Their guards are super talented. Paris Clark's undeniably talented. Zeki is climbing the charts or whatever. But their guard play, decision-making, leadership, they've got a new group and they're having to learn through that. And, we know them well enough to be able to talk about it. It's not a knock. It's just coming there to face some things over and over, to where you have to learn how to lead your team late. And I think they learned a lot this weekend. And I mean, they're really good. So it's hard to find those opportunities, much like Mark was talking about earlier. So,
well, a couple players, quick hitters that stood out for me as, hey, Granny. A 2024 Alexis Rosenfield, New Jersey Sparks, 6'1", forward, wing, long, really good athlete. Another one is 2023 Mackenzie Nelson, plays for Exodus, leads that 16U team and led them to the championship. And she just really carries a lot. We talked about it. Just her carrying the load there on the 16U team as opposed to playing up on 17U. And she just carries it well and leads her team and makes plays on both ends. And one of my favorite plays is they were playing Germantown Lady Panthers early, and it was a great game back and forth, and they needed one rebound. Germantown had missed a shot, needed a rebound just to close out the possession, and she just comes flying in and jumps over everybody and knocks into another girl just to get it because she just wanted to win. And that was an impressive thing from her. Another really good point guard, 2024 Hannah Hidalgo for the Philly Rise. 23, 24.
Yeah, they had it wrong in the book. She's actually a 23.
She's a 23.
Yeah,
23. She was really impressive, just leading that team and making plays and controlling the pace and
super savvy.
Yeah, absolutely. getting the ball to knowing who to get the ball to, because you got plenty of players and shot makers on the team, but also knowing when it was her opportunity to take it. So she was another one. And a find for me was 2024 Elizabeth Lavoie from Team Saints. 24 kid, found on, I think, Court 10, just walking around and watching, and a really good kid. Just going to follow her and be interested to see how she develops. But a young kid there out of New Hampshire to follow and watch. So, there was some quick hitters. So, up and down the board, up and down the weekend, there was great games, great teams, great players. And we appreciate everybody coming out and making the event what it was. We talk about a lot of events, it's this and matchups and stuff, but this weekend was what it's really all about. And teams learning, teams getting ready. And so shout out once again to Matt Shockett and the select event guys and all they did with the event. Shout out to all the teams that came,
The winners,
brand or not.
You're gonna put up you'll show that winner graphic, but
Yep.
we want to make mention of the ones that won. Obviously 17U Platinum was Team Takeover,
Right.
17U Gold, Connecticut Spirit Ruiz, 17U Silver, SVM Select, 16U was Exodus, as you talked about, Mark, 16U Gold, Lancaster Wave, 15U Platinum, Philly Rise, 15U Gold, DC Premier Rise, 14U Silver was Clutch, 13U Gold, Philly Bells. I had a chance to watch them. They have some young hoopers, man. So shout out to those guys. I've watched them a bunch. And not every name sticks with me. That's why we keep a database and notes. But like, they just love to play. And then there was I didn't have all the rosters for Philly Bells turned in, but there was an 8th grade team, and I asked one of the moms. I think the name was, she wasn't sure on the last name. It's Vivaldi, Grace Vivaldi, I think. She was kind of guessing. She's like a little craft, like not little, but like she's just a young hooper. And you could see the ones that love to play. Like you just recognize it. So those young guys were fun. 13U Silver, Castle Athletics, a new program. 13U Gold, D1 SA Spartans, I think is how you say that. 12U Silver, Power Move, and then 11U. So that was like the 5th grade, if I'm not mistaken. Was Team Takeover's young group. So age is well represented. People made it through. What a cool thing to be part of.
Absolutely. So we wish all the teams there good luck as they head into July. As we close out the episode here, you'll see here's where we're going to be in July. And you'll see all the events of the first half of July. So this is the first half. From there, we'll kind of determine the second half of where we're going to be in timing. But wherever you're at, hey, the good thing is college coaches will be out. So, hey, play like you love the game, play with some passion, and we look forward to seeing everybody on the road, especially as we get into July. We'll talk more about our where we're going to be in the next following episodes as we lead up to our July preview. But we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate everybody attending the Prime Event East. And if you haven't hit subscribe below so you'll know when the next episode is on. But for Shane Laflin, Jason Key, I'm Mark Williams, and we're coming to you from the baseline.